Hello and welcome to the channel. Zach D Productions here, and I'm here for a versus video for you guys. Now for this versus video, I'll be talking about two bands that are of course legends in the heavy metal genre, and those bands are Iron Maiden and Judas Priest. And the two albums that I'll be talking about in this video are The X Factor by Iron Maiden versus Jugulator by Judas Priest. Now, why talk about these two albums in the same video? Well, again, these are both, of course, legends in heavy metal, and both these albums do feature a replacement vocalist on each one when their, primary singer left for a bit. So with Iron Maiden on The X Factor, you had Blaze Bayley on vocals, and on Jugulator, you had Ripper Owens on vocals. Now, I do know which one I think I like more. But I will say that one thing that I do have to give Jugulator is that I do think that Ripper Owens is a better fit for Judas Priest than Blaze Bayley is for Iron Maiden. So you think with that alone, I would choose this album over The X Factor, right? Well, think again, because I'm just going to go ahead and tell you which album I do like more. I'm going to have to go with The X Factor by Iron Maiden. I'm not sure if everyone would agree with my choice for this video. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would, but I'm sure there's some people out there that might disagree, but that's okay. There's really no wrong answer with this one because I think both albums are pretty good, to be honest. I mean, yeah, they're not some of their best work or anything, but they're good. With The X Factor, though, you, of course, got really great songs on here, like Sign of the Cross, which I have seen some people say is one of the best Iron Maiden songs. Of course, Man on the Edge is pretty good, Judgment of Heaven, 2 AM, The Unbeliever, and The Edge of Darkness. I mean, there's some pretty underrated stuff from this album, too. And this album here, I think Steve Harris was kind of going through a rough time during the making of this album. So, yeah, it does have a dark atmosphere, and that's probably what they were going for at the time. So, yeah, and I think the sound works for this album. I mean, I've heard some people say that the album is boring, it's too slow, and I know that there's some people out there that actually prefer Virtual 11 over The X Factor, I guess mainly because it's more ambitious, I guess, while this album is kind of slower and darker or whatever, but I don't know. I just find this album more intriguing as far as sound-wise and melody-wise and all that stuff. I think that this album just does a very good job at everything that it does. It's a pretty solid album. Not Iron Maiden's best, of course. I mean, the 90s, when it comes to Iron Maiden, yeah, kind of a rough time for the band. You had Bruce leaving the band, and then Blaze Bayley came. I know some people say that Blaze Bayley is not really a good fit for Iron Maiden. Now, like I said, I do think that Ripper is a better fit for Judas Priest than Blaze is for Iron Maiden. With that being said, I think Blaze still sounds pretty good on this album. I mean, yeah, he's no Bruce or anything, but he still sounds pretty good. I still think it's an enjoyable album for what it is, and of course it's their darkest sounding albums too, or at least one of their darkest sounding albums. But yeah, I definitely go with this album for the winner of this video, but don't get me wrong, Jugulator, it's pretty metal. I mean, that's all there really is to say about it. It's still metal. It still sounds like Judas Priest. And I was actually pretty surprised when I first listened to this album because I was thinking, they still sound like Judas Priest even with a replacement singer on this album. But, this album, it does have some highlights, of course, like the title track and Death Row. Those are solid tracks. And, the other songs on the album are, of course, pretty good as well. But, yeah, it still sounds like Priest, and I think it's pretty good. Definitely the better of the two albums with him on vocals. And I think that's one thing that both these albums do have in common is they're both the better of the two albums with the replacement singer. Again, I definitely prefer The X Factor over Virtual 11, and I do prefer Jugulator over Dominion, which was the other Ripper Owens album. But the winner of this video would have to go to The X Factor. This album I just returned to more, and I'm also more familiar with it. I've had a lot more time with Iron Maiden than I did Judas Priest, but Judas Priest is still a very good band. I definitely do prefer Iron Maiden over Judas Priest, which I know is kind of a question that's brought up a lot in the metal community, but I've always been more of an Iron Maiden guy personally. But even with that said, I think Judas Priest is still a great band. But for this video, I gotta go with the X Factor. So the X Factor is the winner of this video, so let me know what you guys think. Which album do you like more? The X Factor by Iron Maiden or Jugulator by Judas Priest? Feel free to let me know. Again, I feel like there's no wrong answers when it comes to this one, because both are very good in my opinion. So let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching, have a nice day, and take care.